has made its final penny.
The US dollar is the most powerful currency in the history of money. For 80 years, it's been the ground the entire world stands on. And right now, quietly, in plain sight, it's showing the early symptoms of something this country has never lived through, something history has seen many times before. We are not going to tell you the dollar is about to collapse. Nobody can honestly promise you that. What we are going to show you is a pattern, a sequence of small, strange events that every other time they appeared in history came before a currency lost its grip. Some of it is happening in your pocket. Some of it is happening in vaults you will never see. By the end, you will be able to read the signs yourself, and you will understand what people have always done when the ground starts to move to protect everything they have built. It starts with something you have probably already heard about and dismissed. In 2026, the United States stopped making a coin it had made for 232 years, the penny.
The death of the penny.
President Trump wants to make the penny extinct.
And we are now a step closer to making that happen.
And we'll be honest, when we first saw it, we assumed it meant nothing, because there was a boring explanation, and the boring explanation is true. It costs about 3.7 cents to make one penny, and the mint was losing tens of millions a year stamping out money worth less than the metal inside it. So they stopped. Rational, overdue even. Now, shops around cash the nearest nickel. On its own, a footnote. But it is not on its own, and the boring explanation stops being enough the moment you notice what is happening to the coin sitting right next to it. The nickel costs about 14 cents to make, almost 3 times its face value, and there are bills in Congress to suspend it. We want to be precise because this is where people overreach. The nickel is not gone. The Treasury's actual plan is the opposite. Keep it, but change the metal so a nickel costs less than a nickel. The bills to kill it exist, but they are stuck. So this is not a smoking gun. It's a coincidence, the kind you would ignore, if a coincidence were not also showing up at the other end of the scale. A proposal for a new, higher denomination note, $250. And again, let us be precise about what this officially is. It is a commemorative note tied to America's 250th birthday. It's stuck in committee, it's not a law. By the letter, it's a celebration, not a policy.
A new push from Trump appointees to give paper bills a facelift, with the Treasury Department saying it's getting ready to print $250 bills with President Trump's face on them.
How long until we see your signature next to President Trump's face on a $250 bill?
So right now there is proposed legislation that in front of the House, in front of the Senate, to change the first requirement so that a living person, Donald J. Trump, could be on a $250 bill. It's all up on Capitol Hill.
I don't think it's the most pressing issue facing the country right now, but would it surprise me if we did some commemorative items around America 250? No, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
But sit with it for a second. We have never printed a note larger than $100 for everyday hands, not in over a century. And the moment one gets floated is this moment. Here is the question we cannot shake. You do not start imagining a $250 bill in a world where money is getting stronger. You imagine it in a world where $100 does not go as far as it used to. And that feeling that $100 does not stretch like it did is not just a feeling, it's measurable. So before we go anywhere near history, let's prove it by looking at your own receipts. Go back to 2020, not ancient history, just 6 years. A dollar you earned then buys about 80 cents of the same stuff today. A quarter more expensive across everything, and it is not evenly spread. It is worst exactly where you feel it most. Groceries, gas, a used car, rent, a home of your own, the thing that defined the middle class, quietly drifting out of reach for a whole generation. And just when they told you it was over, it came back. This spring, inflation climbed again to its highest in years. Gasoline alone up roughly 40% in a single year.
Last month's inflation numbers are in, and they aren't good.
New government data shows inflation soaring at the fastest pace in 3 years.
So if prices went up by a quarter, something else went down by the same amount. The dollar itself. Every dollar you hold buys less than it used to. Now, why? Why does the dollar keep losing value? For that, look at how many of them we have been making. In early 2020, the national debt was about $27 trillion. Today, it is over $39 trillion. More than $11 trillion added in roughly 5 years. The fastest peacetime accumulation of debt this country has ever recorded. It is now climbing by billions of dollars a day. And here is the line that should stop you cold. Just paying the interest on that debt now costs more than $1 trillion a year. More than the entire US military budget. In 2020, that interest bill was about $345 billion. It has tripled. 3 different credit agencies have now downgraded the United States. The most trusted borrower on earth is not quite as trusted as it was.
The international credit agency Moody's downgraded the U.S.'s credit rating from its highest AAA rating to AA1. Moody's cited the growing U.S. debt, currently at about $36 trillion, and the inability of politicians on both sides to manage it.
When a country owes that much in its own currency, it has a quiet temptation that every indebted nation in history has faced. Do not pay it back in hard money. Pay it back in softer money. Inflate the debt away by making more dollars, which makes each one worth less.
Some inflation has some benefits. It encourages economic activity. If people think prices are going to rise in the future, they're more likely to buy today. And as Chris Flowers says, it does help debtors because you can pay what you owe later with dollars that are worth less. So your money goes a little bit farther that way. And other people have been suggesting that we do something along those lines.
And that's what brings us back to your shrinking dollar. Currencies in real trouble tend to do 2 things at once. They abandon their smallest coins, because the small change becomes worthless to even handle, and they print ever larger notes, because you suddenly need more zeros to buy the same loaf of bread. Zimbabwe printed a $100 trillion note while its coins turned to garbage. Now, here is where we stop ourselves. America's penny is dying over production cost, not because a barrel of them cannot buy bread. The $250 bill, officially, is a birthday note, not an emergency denomination. The fit with Weimar, with Zimbabwe, is loose. It is not the same movie, and we will not pretend it is. But not the same movie is not the same as nothing, because the receipts are real, the debt is real, and the deepest part of the story is not on your kitchen table at all. The evidence was somewhere we had not looked, somewhere quiet, inside the vaults of the people who actually run the money. For most of your life, the dollar has rested on one quiet habit. The rest of the world parks its savings in US government debt, treasuries. That demand is the foundation. It is what lets America borrow cheaply and is what keeps the dollar on top. That habit is changing. At the end of 2025, for the first time since the 1990s, the world's central banks held more gold than US treasuries. Let that land. The asset they fled to for 30 years, they are now quietly backing away from. Central banks have been selling treasuries and buying gold, more than 1,000 tons a year, 3 years running. China, Poland, Turkey, and the group called BRICS keeps testing ways to trade without the dollar at all.
Brazil today is not as dependent on the United States as it once was. I'm not going to give up on the idea that we need to work towards building an alternative currency so that we can trade with other countries. I don't need to remain subordinate to the dollar.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, be it geopolitical or macroeconomic, and certainly we've seen a flight to quality, i.e. a flight to gold in recent months, and that's a trend which we foresee continuing as we go throughout the year.
And one more thing worth saying out loud, because it's the difference between a fact and a guess. This reserve data is reported by central banks and compiled by institutions like the ECB and the World Gold Council. It tells us what the biggest players are buying and selling, It does not tell us why or what happens next. So take it for exactly what it is, not a prediction, a signal. None of this is a collapse. We want to say that clearly. But it is a vote. The smartest money in the world is quietly moving toward things that cannot be printed. So even if part of this rhymes, and we think part of it does, the useful question is not what is coming. We cannot tell you that, and anyone who is certain is selling you something. The useful question is this: in past moments like this, what did people actually do? And it splits in two. First, they played defense. Then, the part most people miss, they played offense. Defense is about one thing: making sure the money you already earned still buys what it buys today. Because in a weakening currency era, sitting in cash is not safe. It is a slow leak. It feels safe, but it's the one thing guaranteed to lose. Historically, money under that kind of pressure has migrated towards things that cannot be printed. Scarce, real assets. Gold and hard commodities. The exact things the central banks themselves are buying right now. Real estate, because debt gets cheaper to repay while the building keeps its worth. And a smaller, more volatile slice towards fixed supply digital assets, for those with the stomach for the swings. But here is the honesty this deserves. And it is the part the gold sellers leave out. None of this moves in a straight line. Gold hit a record high in 2026 and then fell roughly 18% in under 3 months. A hedge is not a magic trick. It protects you over time through the volatility, not around it. That is the whole point of defense. Not to win fast, to still be standing when it matters. And then there is offense, because every monetary shift in history did not just destroy wealth, it moved it from the people who did not see it to the people who did. Offense means owning the things that rise when a currency falls, not just the things that hold. Historically, that has meant productive assets, ownership in real businesses, equities, especially companies that can raise their own prices faster than their costs climb. Pricing power is the quiet superpower of an inflationary decade. It has meant the producers of the scarce things, not only the things themselves. Historically, the miners and the infrastructure behind the assets, which can move faster than the metal in a strong cycle. It has meant income that grows, assets that pay you more over time instead of a fixed number inflation slowly hollows out. And across every era, win or lose, one thread held everything together: diversification. No single bet, no certainty about timing, spreading across offense and defense, across assets and even currencies, so that no one government, keeping or breaking no one promise, holds your entire future in its hands. Defense keeps what you have. Offense grows it into what's next. The mistake, the only unforced error, is doing nothing and hoping the coin lands the way it always has. History does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. A vanishing penny is not a crisis, but the people who manage the world's money quietly trading dollars for gold, that might be the first sentence of a much longer story. The penny in your pocket is still worth a penny. The question this video cannot answer is whether that sentence will sound as obvious 10 years from now as it does today.